The intervention video for evaluating a 1-minute common word reading intervention for improving reading fluency. Why literacy matters. Literacy is foundational for pupils' learning and future outcomes. Early reading difficulties, if not addressed, can persist and widen over time. Reading fluency is a key component of literacy, enabling pupils to read accurately, efficiently, and with understanding. This matters because pupils who are not fluent readers often struggle to access the curriculum, making targeted fluency support a high-impact focus for intervention. 1-minute common word reading intervention for improving reading fluency. The purpose of the intervention is to improve pupils' reading fluency by increasing the speed and accuracy with which they can read common exception words. The intervention was developed by Cotsford Primary School to support pupils who read below 80 words per minute, as pupils who don't reach this level of reading fluency may struggle to access wider curriculum statutory assessments, including SATs. And again, just a big thank you to Cotsford Primary School and County Down for sharing the intervention and all the resources for this project. So let's listen to Victoria Page, who will talk through the intervention now. Hi, Vicky. Thank you very much for joining me to talk through the intervention that we've got on the platform. It would be great if you could just introduce yourself. That'd be fantastic.
Hi, my name is Vicky Page and I am Deputy Head at Cotsford Primary School in Horden Peterlee.
Fantastic. I've just got 3 quick questions just to help basically the users to understand what the intervention is. But the first one I just want to start with is why did you develop this approach in your school?
So what we found was that the children who were accessing phonics, once they'd finished their phonics programme, they were having difficulties with their fluency. So we've always checked our words per minute to check to see how many words the children could read. And we found that those numbers were decreasing once the children had completed their phonics programme. And that, in line with the number of children who we've got pupil premium, is 62% across our school, and we've got 31% SEND. We knew that we had academic gaps and gaps with fluency once they were reaching year 2, end of year 2. So we needed to do something.
So just the next question, would it be okay just to explain how this works in practice?
So firstly, what we do is we complete a baseline assessment with all the children where we give them all an extract and we give them 1 minute to keep reading that extract. And then after that 1 minute, we count to see how many words per minute the child was able to read. Now, once they've done that, we see how many words per minute. And if it's anything less than 80 words per minute, those children are then targeted for some extra additional support for one-to-one. Now, what happens after that is that those children are given one-to-one interventions and they work alongside a tutor, and the tutor focuses on common exception words. So they're given packs, and those packs look like this. And what happens is you've got a pack for common exceptions for year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4. Because what we found was that when they were struggling with their reading, it was because they weren't able to read their sight vocabulary at speed. So during the intervention, the adult would have a pack and they would have 10 words at a time in a pile, and they would sit with the child and they would flash that card to the child and the child would read that word. Now, if the child could read the first set of 10 words, then they would go on to the next set of 10 words and basically try and increase the speed of reading through practicing regularly and rote learning. And then what would happen is the children would systematically work through the common exception words for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, until they're at the point where they can read those words at speed. And what we found is that the children, when they were actually working with them, they have been able to move through the common exception words from 1, 2, 3, 4 quite speedily, but because they've had that regular practice. So it was nice and simple and only lasts about a minute and a half.
So the child's just taken out by that tutor, that TA, and then they'll basically spend a minute with them going through the common words that they've got in the pack. And you've kindly, in the resource folder, we've got all the resources there for the teachers just ready to get started with this straight away.
Absolutely. And then alongside that, what they'll have is they'll just have a sheet with all the words. And once that child's confidently able to read those words, the tutor, the TA who's working alongside them, would just take that word off, and then they would know to move on to the next set of words.
Super simple. And then just the last one, because we will be using the baseline and then get post-test. Could you just very quickly just explain how you select this text, if that's okay?
So we select the texts based on texts that are stage appropriate for the child. So when the children finish in year two, finish their phonics program in year two, we have a range of extracts, and the children work their way through the extracts. And basically, it's like a best fit approach until the children are able to read extracts that are age appropriate. So it doesn't start age appropriate at the beginning if the children are having difficulties with their reading. So you'll go back to a text that's appropriate for them and build it up so that they can then catch up with their peers.
Thank you very much. That's absolutely brilliant. Okay. Just a quick recap of the intervention. It's the 1 minute common word reading intervention for improving reading fluency. So step one is where you baseline the children read an extract, which is stage-related text. When completing the baseline, the children will have their own copy of the text. The assessor will highlight any words that a child either struggles with or miscues. You then identify the children needed the intervention. So any child who scores less than 80, which words per minute, will be targeted. So in this trial, they are randomly allocated intervention and comparator group. Then during the intervention, the children will start reading year common exception words and progressively work through each of the year groups of the common exception words. A teaching assistant delivers the 1 minute intervention to the students. So the pupil will be reassessed at the end of the trial. In usual practice, this is every half term. So how does the teacher select an extract? You'll find in the resource folder a Word document that has this on. So in this school, they either get it from this website, or you can also get a 60-second reads from Twinkle. You will also find in the resource folder the common exception word checklists. So just this R is just for reading, W is for writing. The school didn't actually use the writing one. So as the students become familiar with them, you just tick them and it keeps a record for the TA. You'll also find all the resources needed just to download and then to put into packs for your teaching assistant. So the next steps is to move on to the implementation overview video.